inspiration for this album was that I really believe in the interconnectedness of all beings, and I study with a couple of spiritual teachers who we talk about our oneness, and there is no separation. Premik has a jazz fusion band called Oneness-World, and I said the time was now. The time was now for us to do this. And a few months ago, 5 songs came to me, all about the interwovenness of human hearts and humanity. And song after song was just flowing. And then Premik took over and songs started flowing from him.
And I had these pieces that sort of had no home. And so they were existing in space, in the seed form, and hadn't really been performed, hadn't been recorded. So everything seemed to have like a cosmic timing to it. And, so the name was born, the concept was born, and I like the feeling of the world, Oneness-World, meaning that it's not just a jazz quintet. It is like a global view, very as universal as possible.
And my bringing fashion in, because fashion is a global issue, and as all who know me know that I am a couture fashion designer, and that's been my first main life career, the thread throughout my life. And I've worked in the sustainable fashion movement for the last couple decades. I taught sustainable fashion in France and in Japan at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. I participate in conferences, and I felt it was really important to expose the ill practices of the fashion industry, and that's why I wrote Catwalk. And I expose 3 aspects of the industry, the glamour, the glitz of the catwalk on the runway, and then I give some historical information about the greatest designers of all time, leading up to, but what's the true cost? And the world really needs to gain an awareness of what's going on so we can put an end to this really destructive cycle.
Well, I'm very, very excited about this particular lineup, this particular ensemble. It's actually the first time that all 6 players have come together, and all of similar yet different musical backgrounds. Steve Sandberg, the pianist, I've known for a number of years now. Michael O'Brien is simply one of my favorite bassists on the planet. He and Steve have had a tight unit for some time. And the beautiful thing is that bringing 2 different keyboardists together, one completely focused on grand piano, and the other completely focused on electronic keyboards, yet the 2 work together so seamlessly. It brings the whole group sound to a whole new level. And in my compositions, it is true that there's, so you could call it some of the 80s vibe. At the same time, I've spent a lot of time studying music of the East through the meditation practice, studying the music of India, done a lot of listening with the great artists like Ravi Shankar, and had the privilege of studying with several great Indian musicians. So that influence also enters into the pieces. Yet the songs, I think, have a global view because of tunes like Norwegian Dance, which has a European and Celtic kind of energy to it. So the idea is to make the music as universal as possible, yet with the element of improvisation. Recording this album has been a very, very unique experience, and in the pop music world, everything is done, not to be critical, but very often what I feel is a more sterilized way, in that they layer one part at a time. But here we're actually performing live, although for the recording purposes we're actually all in different booths in different rooms with TV set up so we can see each other and communicate with each other, but yet it's as if we're playing a live show. And that's where the real magic happens, when you have that spontaneous interaction rather than everything very, very preset in terms of one track, then another, and then another, which can be a bit of an artificial experience. It may be very polished, but it can be, not quite as breathing and not quite as spontaneous as doing it in the live, almost like jazz type concept, where all, jazz albums as I know it are pretty much done on the spot.
A few of the songs that I came up with the melodies and themes, and I was explaining what I was hearing in my head to Premik, and he actually wasn't quite getting it. So I took out, being a fashion designer, I took out paper and pencil, and I actually drew the music. I drew the swirling lines of the crescendo and the decrescendo and who would come in where, and I would explain parts that I wanted to, anything from the Big Bang Theory being expressed in the music to the weave, where there's really this wave-like flowing of the instruments coming in and out. So apparently then when Premik started really writing the music, it was very challenging, like the timings, right? Like they're very unusual timings.
She wrote one of the best music charts I've ever seen, which is like a drawing with a bunch of waves.
With everybody's
and going both directions. Yeah, saying like, okay, Neil, the keyboardist, here with this upward wave, and then Steve comes with this upward wave, and then the bassist goes to this downward wave.
And they go into a break.
I said, whoa, this is brilliant. Yeah. Kind of like contemporary classical music writing.
I wanted the music to be groundbreaking and something that no one ever did before. And I really feel we achieved this. And I also think the combination of Premik being a lifelong virtuoso, multi-instrumentalist, who has played on over 300 albums, and myself with my background in fashion and art. And I think, and I have a very strong music background. I mean, I studied classical piano, jazz piano, dance. I was a translator in the music industry. So music has been a huge part of my life. But the combination of our backgrounds, I think, has created an album really unique. And there is, for the listener, there's going to be kind of an amazing flow from oneness, going into the weave, going into the fashion. And then my Christmas song that I wrote, as a little girl, my father would always recite Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Bells, every Christmas. And as a little girl, I would recite it. So I got an inspiration, because I think of Christmas bells, to rewrite Edgar Allan Poe's poem, leaving out any of the darkness, that I wanted it to be just joyful Christmas bells. So I use the first verse of Edgar Allan Poe's poem, and then I write starlight, crystal bells, my verse. Then the third verse, I change his words to make them more Christmas-like, and then I finish with my final verse, which is even a little more Christmas-like. And it's jazz, and it's bells, and it's joyful. And I really feel that my Christmas song is something that no one has ever written before, anything like it. So I think it makes the album really unique.
She and Edgar Allan Poe are great communicators, great collaborators, I was going to say.
Yes, yeah. So It was a beautiful combination. I think the combination of our backgrounds really made a unique album.
My hope, what people will take away, is joy. Joy and inspiration from the creativity involved in making it. Because the title of one of the pieces is Joie de vivre.
Joie de vivre.
Yeah, it means the joy of life.
Yes.
And so that's what I always try and put into the music, to give people an uplift. And also different varieties, like Baskin-Robbins has 32 varieties of ice cream. Well, we try and do a good variety of flavors and colors, musically speaking, on this recording.
I also think for me that could take what he said one step further. I want people, what do I want people to get out of the album? I want people to feel joy. I want people to become more aware and enlightened to our oneness, to our interconnectedness as a species, to help to kind of soothe and calm the divide and the anger that's in the world today. So that's really, I think the more we understand our interconnectedness, the more we can love each other. So I really do hope that it will inspire more love and humanity, and also the awareness, putting in my fashion piece, of how we do have to love the planet Earth, and we have to protect our planet as well. So I think it's a little combination, but we try to really finish with joy with the bells.